Welcome. Bienvenidos to the YWCA. I'm Magdalena Verdugo, CEO of this amazing organization. It is my honor to welcome you today here on a day of racial healing, or a day dedicated for racial healing. And don't we have a lot of that to do? So hopefully today is a day of reflection, a day of connection, and a day of collective action. Whether it's with us, right, as the individuals, or with the community that we are blessed to be here with today. Today we come together because not only to acknowledge the wounds of the past, but to affirm our commitment to building a future grounded in equity, in justice, and healing. But anyway, healing, I think it's a journey, and a journey that many of us have embraced. And it's a practice, and it's a responsibility. So the activities today coming together, and the activities and what we'll share today, I hope they nourish you. They nourish us. I feel this morning when I came in for this event, I was driving here and I was thinking, I'm going to be right where I need to be, in community. Seeing many familiar faces, connecting, really, because the connection that we can build together is what makes us thrive, right, and heal. So today, it's about honesty, it's about vulnerability, and it's about growth. So let us honor our stories, our lived experiences, share today, and respect the openness. And let us remember that healing is both personal and collective. Together, I believe we have the power to break cycles by sharing with one another our stories, our lived experiences, right? And moving together forward. So I thank you so much for being here today. And I look forward to connecting with you. You are always welcome here at the YWCA. I hope that this is a place where you find that you can come and engage and learn with us. Muchas gracias. Before I leave the podium, I do want to acknowledge we have a couple of individuals here. Pima County Board of Supervisors, Benita Grijalva is here. And I'm really proud to say that she's also one of our YWCA board members. Also Supervisor Jennifer Allen, I know I saw you, also is joining us this morning. Thank you. Thank you, because your presence makes this work even important. It's valuable. So again, open hearts moving forward on this journey together. And I have the pleasure now to turn it over to Emily with the League of Women.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you all for coming today. Thank you to the committee that set up this special day. And my name is Emily Bridson. I'm the president of the League of Women Voters of Greater Tucson. I'm really excited to be here. And I wanted to offer up our land acknowledgement statement this afternoon. We respectfully acknowledge that the League of Women Voters of Greater Tucson is on the land of territories of indigenous peoples. Today, Arizona is home to 22 federally recognized tribes, with Tucson being home to Tohono O'odham and Passamaquoddy people. We also humbly acknowledge that for most of its history, our organization has not been welcoming to women of color. To quote our CEO of the League of Women Voters, Virginia Casey Solomon, even during the civil rights movement, the League was not as present as we should have been. While activists risked life and limb to register Black voters in the South, the League's work and our voters were late in joining to help protect all voters at the polls. It wasn't until 1966 that we reached our first position to combat discrimination. Still, our focus was on social policy, was from afar, not on the front lines, and African Americans were shut out of the vision of the League. Today, we invite all people, regardless of gender identity, ability, ethnicity, or race, to join us as we commit to righting the wrongs of our past and building a strong, more inclusive democracy. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization encouraging informed and active participation in our government. We neither support nor oppose candidates or political parties at any level of government. We do, however, advocate for public policy, such as voting rights, non-discrimination, civil rights, and criminal justice reform. We have been empowering voters and defending democracy right here in Greater Tucson for the past 83 years. So it's such a privilege here today to bring this program to our community again. Again, thank you for coming today. Thank you to our elected officials. And I will pass it on to Victor to introduce our next person. Victor.
Thank you everyone for being here today. It's a wonderful feeling to see a room full of folks who are committed to racial healing and the National Day of Racial Healing. It's a wonderful weekend with MLK events taking place also. Saw many of you this morning at the MLK breakfast, so it's good seeing you back here today too, and that was a wonderful experience. So what we want to move on to next is our native blessing. And we have Mr. Bruce Donahue, but I want to go ahead and get his bio so I can give that really quickly. Tell you a little bit about Bruce. Bruce works as a navigator through Justice Services, which is part of our MacArthur Fund grant itself. And Bruce is a member of the Tornado Nation and is coming to the Pima County Justice Services Department from the behavioral health field. He's been working in the drug and alcohol treatment for the last several years and brings lived experience that often is well received by others in recovery. Bruce has been working on creating solutions to bridge cultural gaps and barriers by using evidence-based treatment and programming. Bruce created a program that focused on the indigenous perspective and approach to recovery. The program's emphasis was on the correlation between the 12th step and the traditional beliefs and values. Bruce is continuing his education to lay a foundation that would help support and create opportunity for tribal nations and the Tucson community. He has a desire and passion to give to those in need the resources and services needed to be successful, no matter what the barrier. His continuity comes from the trials and tribulations he faces in his own home, culture, and community. More recently, Bruce has focused on introducing the Sacred Traditions program into the Arizona Department of Corrections and local drug and alcohol facilities. Bruce looks forward to continuing to provide cultural competence services in his community and others. So without further ado, Mr. Bruce Donahue.
Bruce Donahue. Good morning. My name is Bruce Donahue. I come from the Donahue Nation. I come from where the Owl Hoops. I am a member of the Miguel community, and I want to thank the Victor and the YWCA for reaching out and allowing me to be a part of today's event. I'm going to go ahead and ask for those that are willing to go ahead and stand. And why we do that is we want to welcome in the healing with the words that were already shared today. Thank you for the opening addresses. One of the things that was talked to about was the healing of why we came together. And for myself, a lot of that begins with finding some humility. I believe humility is the doorway to finding some of that humility when we humble ourselves and acknowledge some of the things that we're allowed to work on. then a foundation can be laid, and then we can begin to work on those things. So thank you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and how we for the autumn, we recognize the ancestors is the first direction. So anybody that's willing to participate, I'm going to face the east, which is the directions what the autumn called To'im Paitach, or blend of the plenty Saguaro. And I'm gonna acknowledge those ancestors and welcome them in, and then I'll continue to change directions. So for anybody that is willing to share along, please, I'm welcoming you to do so.
Indigenous people believe that we were gifted a variety of different medicines, and the medicine that I'm using today is the sage. Sage we use to connect with our ancestors, with our children, with our elders, and more than anything, with one another. You know, we utilize this smoke to carry our prayers. Oftentimes, it is believed that if somebody will light the sage and it brings a healing medicine, but the powerful component is the prayer. Sage is just the vessel that we utilize to carry our prayers to Creator. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome you to go ahead and say your own little prayer as I acknowledge the ancestors. Creator, thank you today for welcoming us. And I recognize those all of them that have passed on, the ones whose DNA continues to flow through me. I apologize for anything that I've done that was unrepresentative or non-characteristics of the path that you laid down for me, ancestors. I thank you for continuing to walk this journey and continuing to guide me, continuing to bless me, continuing to look out for me, Creator, ancestors. I offer some humility, and I apologize again for not being who you guys planned for me to be. And in that humility, I thank you for the opportunity to do better today, Creator, for waking me up, for giving me those blessings this morning, those two gifts that you gave me this morning, Creator, my eyes, so that I can see that you're not done with me, Creator. Ancestors, thank you. Myself, I'm going to turn counterclockwise, because that's the autumn way. I turn counterclockwise, and then I will face the direction of the north. North is the direction of the elders. And again, elders, thank you for walking this path before me. Thank you for being with me and allowing me to learn from you. Thank you for pouring your wisdom, your experience, and everything that you poured into me, elders. I humbly request forgiveness that oftentimes I may fall, I may stumble, and my elders, they're always there to pick me up. They're always there to bless me with their presence. They're always there to impose that wisdom, that knowledge, that experience, that spirituality, that healing, the reason we came today. I ask that the smoke carries to those elders out there in all four directions. And once again, I thank you and I offer that humility for forgiveness. I'm going to continue to turn counterclockwise. I go all the way around, and then I'm going to face that south. That south is the direction. Thank you for participating. That direction to the south is the direction of the children. First and foremost, I apologize to those children, for not being the example that they deserve. But I also thank them for their teachings. Because when a child is born, they are born innocent. And it is our responsibility to teach them better, teach them well from our own experiences. Thank you, children, for being my teacher. Thank you for giving me the understanding and the forgiveness that when I falter, that you will be there to pick me up as much as I will pick up you. I pray that this smoke reaches my children and all of your children and all the children out there that are suffering, anybody that needs an extra special prayer today. I pray that this smoke finds those children out there that need that healing, that we will continue to guide them as a community, as parents, as elders, and as mentors, teachers. Thank you for being my teacher. One more time, I will go counterclockwise and then I will face the west. The west is the direction of the adults. So many times, many adults have mentored me, taught me, teach me, cared for me, and I thank them for allowing me to be a part of. In the indigenous community, we often talk about connection, versus wider society's competition. I want to be connected to each and every one of you today, and I thank you. I thank those adults out there, those other adults that took time to pour into me, teach me these traditional ways. I offer that gratitude and I offer the humility that when they carry me and allow me to carry them at times to continue to go on in this direction of healing. The direction of the west is also the direction of the Gach, the ocean that water, they all believe that water is sacred, water is healing. So I recognize the ocean. I pray that this smoke reaches the ocean, but these prayers into each and every one of you, the new connection that we all have. They all celebrate the old connection, but ultimately the connection period that today has been being a part of, because that's what we came here today for, was for that healing to be a part of. I'm going to go turn around and I'm going to face the east again. Creator, we come to you today. We ask that you bless each and every one of us today. I ask that you go ahead and reach out, and those that need that extra guidance, those that need that extra healing, that this smoke will allow you to be a part of today. We'll carry our prayers, that you will give us some of this knowledge, some of this wisdom, some of this information that others are carrying, that are here to share with us today. I pray that you bless all the hands that had a hand in preparing this event, all the sponsors that will continue to forward our efforts in racial and social justice in all areas, in our education, in our healings of our minds, our bodies, our spirits. I'm going to just walk around and continue this. Creator, thank you for allowing us to participate today and bringing us all together for this great event. I say aho. Amen. The Donahue, we don't have a word for thank you. We say Tosha Twasim Hoikut. It means may Creator have mercy on your soul. Rosha Twasim Hoikut. Thank you.
So next I want to go ahead and introduce Mr. Doyle Morrison. Doyle Morrison is a member of the Pima County Justice Department, Justice Services. Doyle brings professional and lived experience to his work as a returning citizen, veteran, and over 16 years as a behavioral health technician. Supporting justice involves specialty populations suffering from serious mental illness, trauma, and substance abuse disorders. During his 3 years with DJS, Doyle has been allowed to utilize his experience and passion in community engagement to promote, implement, and support change in Pima County via existing community and county collaborations. The relationship building and identifying discriminating criminal justice policies and procedures as the community engagement and equity specialist, working on the MacArthur Foundation Safety and Justice Challenge Grant. Most recently, his role as the Pima County Transition Center Program Manager, Doyle has been blessed to lead a team of 6 justice navigators, focusing on supporting individuals transitioning out of custody. Since opening of the PCTC doors in July of 2023, Doyle and his team have supported over 500 returning citizens from local and state detention back into society with connections to wraparound services and outreach. Follow-up also to prevent recidivism, supervision violations, failure to appear, and mental health and substance abuse crisis. Thank you, Doyle Morrison, for the work that you do, and I give you Doyle Morrison for our pledge.
Thank you, I appreciate that. That was written quite some time ago. Since then, we're probably up to about 12 to 1,300 individuals that we've serviced at the Transition Center, supporting individuals navigating. When Victor said, hey, you want to do the pledge? I'm like, of course. Why would I not want to do the pledge? And in our time, in our society today, especially for this event here today, being able to have a symbol to rally behind for what unifies us and what we represent as a nation to move forward and to unify ourselves and put all division aside to come together to represent the morals and the characters of what our nation is supposed to represent. So I'm excited as a veteran, disabled veteran and a combat veteran, to be able to do this. And I appreciate the fact that he brought the flag up. I was like, there's no flag in the room. So with that, if you wouldn't mind standing with me so we can do our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, please have a seat. And I think today, especially what we're doing today, as we focus on indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, that's what we're focused on, our unity today and what we're trying to do today. So I applaud all you guys for being here. I applaud several of you for the efforts and the energy and the commitments you have made in your career fields as citizens to help unify all of us so that we can continue to move forward, do what we need to do, and get this nation back to where it needs to be. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Doyle. Okay, next I want to be able to introduce our prayer. I spoke with Pastor Grady Scott, and I said, Pastor Grady Scott, can you give me a bio or something to introduce you? And he said, no, that's fine. Just let them know that Grace Temple, is my church. And Pastor Grady Scott this morning also gave the prayer for Martin Luther King breakfast And again, that was a wonderful experience. We were all there bright and early, and there was, Pastor Scott, giving a wonderful prayer. So without further ado, Pastor Grady Scott of Grace Temple Baptist Church.
Before we pray, I just want to let you know I'm also the event organizer for the MLK celebration at the park on Monday. And I want to invite everybody to come out on Monday. Try to get there at 9:30. Everything is going to take place at the park. We want to honor the life and the legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I know you may not want to do it again, but can we all stand? Let us pray. I will lift up mine eyes into the hills from whence cometh my help. My help comes from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from evil. He will preserve your soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. Father, we thank you for this day that you have allowed us to come together yet again. Not only on a weekend when we honor Dr. King, but as your people we come together. We pray that you would knit our hearts together, that we would begin to see each other as individuals, as brothers, as sisters, as part of the same family, not just in this room, but in this city, and in this state, and in this country, and in this world. We pray now for your protection upon us, not only today, but even on tomorrow and Monday, and the days coming and the days before, the days after that. For we know that you are a keeper. We've read it in your word. Now, Lord, we thank you for what you're doing and what you're yet going to do. May your blessings be upon each one that's in this room. In the name of our risen Christ. Amen. Amen. Thank you for standing.
Thank you, Pastor Scott. We appreciate it. And we know you have a busy day, so we're just blessed to have you for whatever time you can offer us. And thank you again. Now we want to move on. We want to go ahead and introduce our MC. One of the things that I was thinking about is that I'd like to have an MC rotating each year, someone in the community who's highly respected and also in touch with a diverse community. And when I started to think about that, I didn't have to think too hard because Dr. Cheree Meeks came to mind right away. We had the opportunity again this year to go to the NAACP luncheon, which is so professionally run, and I was really impressed with that each year. And so when I brought, the suggestion of Cheree Meeks to the committee, that was, we didn't even need to vote on that. That was just, oh yeah, why didn't we think of that before? So let me just tell you a little bit about Dr. Cheree Meeks. She serves as the president, as you know, of the Tucson branch of the NAACP. Dr. Meeks is committed to upholding the mission of the NAACP, eliminating race-based discrimination and achieving equity, political rights, and social inclusion for Black people. She believes there is something for each of us to contribute to strengthen our community and uplift generations after us. Dr. Meeks believes in the importance of meaningful legislation that centers equity and human decency. Through her leadership, Dr. Meeks makes intentional efforts to equip community members with information and opportunities to take control of our community through knowledge and action. Dr. Meeks is the Assistant Dean for Programs, Diversity, and Inclusion in the W.A. Frank Honors College at the University of Arizona. She leads college efforts and initiatives to create and foster a safe, welcoming, and inclusive environment in the college. This includes intentional development of programs and experience to address recruitment, access, support, and retention of underrepresented students, faculty, and staff. Dr. Meeks incorporates equity and inclusion-based student affairs practices to review policies that contribute to a culture of inclusion and belonging. Dr. Meeks earned a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science and Master of Arts in Student Development and Post-Secondary Education from the University of Iowa. and a doctorate in higher education and organizational change from Benedictine University. In addition to serving on the Girl Scouts of Southern Arizona Board of Directors, Dr. Meeks is a recipient of the 40 Under 40 Award and was selected as the Woman of the Year. She was also named the Arizona Women in Higher Education Woman of the Year. Dr. Meeks is a member of Grace Temple Baptist Church family and proud member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. She most enjoys family fun with her husband Lance and daughter Layla. Okay. Without further ado, Dr. Cheree Meeks.
Good morning. Thank y'all for saying good morning back to me. We know it's not morning. But I have been saying good morning since I walked in here, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I had a thought as I was standing back there. I want to say thank you so much for the blessing, because that really just centered me in what we are here to do today. And I don't know. I had a conversation with God, and I feel like I know why. I just thought maybe I just keep saying good morning because I'm not paying attention to what time it is. But when I think about the morning, I think about a new opportunity. I think about God who has allowed me to open my eyes and has given me another chance to do something good, to do what He has called me to do. And so now I'm saying good morning on purpose, because I think that we are here today, this afternoon, for these many hours that we are going to have an amazing time together talking about racial justice and talking about healing. This is a new opportunity. So I want to say to you again, good morning. Good morning. All right, so thank you so much to each and every one of you for being here. I want to thank the committee for the invitation to serve in this capacity. There are many things that are going to be happening over the course of the afternoon, so get ready, get ready. But my first point of order is to introduce the GMWA choir, who is going to be performing Lift Every Voice. So I'd like to call you all to the front. And I believe everyone may have the words to Lift Every Voice. If you don't have access to a copy, we can make sure you get one.
Anyone need copies?
Beautiful job. Thank you so much. Now we all have the words, all 3 verses. Hang on to that. These are such powerful words written by James Weldon Johnson. So I just want to, and maybe that information is already there. Wonderful. All right, so now I just want to take a quick moment for some acknowledgements. First, I want to say thank you to the Planning Committee and acknowledge the Planning Committee. If you served in any capacity in putting this day together, please stand. Great job. Thank you. Thank you all so very much. Without you, this could not be done. I'd also like to take an opportunity to acknowledge our elected officials that are in the room. I know there were a few folks that were acknowledged before. I would like to ask each of you to stand. I'm going to take that route so I don't miss anyone. If you could please stand. I know you're here. Stand. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Adelina Grijalva and Jennifer Allen, thank you so much. We didn't miss anyone? All right. So thank you all so much for being here. There are also some other great things that are happening throughout this building that we want to share with you all. So if you might have noticed as you were walking in, or perhaps in the back of the room, we have some really great tables that we want you to be sure to stop by. And so first I would like to tell you about author Adiba Nelson. Adiba, stand or raise your hand. That's fine. I'll tell you about Adiba. Adiba Nelson is the author of Ain't That a Mother? The memoir that Essence, Bustle, Miss Magazine, and Shondaland all hailed as a must-read. So make sure you get yours before you leave because it's a must-read. And the subject of the Emmy-winning documentary, The Full Nelson. She is also a disability rights activist, executive producer, and creative consultant on the TV series based on her memoir that is currently in development. A freelance journalist, yes, after that. She's a freelance journalist, a semi-retired performer, and a very tired mom. In 2013, she self-published her first children's book, Meet Clarabelle Blue. And in 2017, she delivered her TEDx talk, Skating Downhill, The Art of Claiming Your Life. She delivered that to a sold-out crowd and has since joined the NPR affiliate, Arizona Public Media, as a regular contributor on Arizona Spotlight. Her children's book, Ocean and Me, is available now, and her next book, Hazel's Best Day, will be available in March of 2026. That's why she's a tired mom. All right. So make sure you take a stand back there, have a conversation with her. We also have mostly books in the back as well. So there are lots of great things that are available to you. Yes, hold them up. There we go. Also, out in the lobby, Roni Captain Rivera Ashford is an accomplished international dual language award-winning author. I'm not sure if Roni knows I'm talking about you now, so maybe come pop in. Roni has the ability and natural gift to relate to children and adults in English as well as Spanish. Over 250,000 copies of her books have been sold. Perhaps more can be sold today. 3 of Roni's books have been named to represent the state of Arizona at the National Library of Congress Book Festival. Audio recordings of these books are available to the visually impaired through the Arizona Talking Book Library, as well as through the National Talking Book Library. Roni was selected for the 2009 winner of the Judy Goddard Libraries Limited Award, recognized as a Lifetime Arizona Children's Author. I'm gonna make sure I get this. There you were. I'm sorry, you were right there. Hello. So please make sure that you stop by outside purchase some books, that would be wonderful. We also want to acknowledge the Tucson Jewish Museum and Holocaust Center. Please make sure you stop back there and have a conversation, pick up some information. So now we're going to talk about why racial healing. We are here today to think about racial healing. According to the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, racial healing is the experience shared by people when they speak openly and hear the truth about past wrongs and the negative impacts created by individual and systemic racism. Racial healing helps to build trust among people and restores communities to wholeness so they can work together on changing current systems and structures so that they affirm the inherent value of people. So if you are wondering still why we are here this afternoon, that is why we are coming together so that we can have these conversations, so that we can talk about past wrongs, and so that we can move towards healing together as a community. So I gave you the W.K. Kellogg definition of racial healing. Is there anyone who would like to share their perspective or their definition of racial healing? I can't go too far because I've got this cord here, so I'm probably looking at the front row unless someone is willing to come up here to me. Oh, no one wants to make eye contact? Okay, I see what you're doing. All right. Oh, Miss Yolanda, okay, she's gonna come up here, yes. We are bringing, I know her name, so I can say her name. Yolanda Parker Rizzoli, come to the front, please. Thank you. What is racial healing?
And I'm going to take off my mask so you can see my face. So I might probably mess up. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to follow my branch president. I'm the branch secretary of NAACP. Racial healing to me is, it encompasses just being, my theme this year is going to be being kind and peaceful. So racial healing is part of that. I grew up in Flagstaff, Arizona. So I'm not from Tucson, and I went to school with various types, the Navajos, this Mormon community. My father was working at the NAU, and he would bring football players to our house every Sunday, all races. Didn't matter who they were. He did Bible study. So racial healing just means that we're all functioning together, we're getting along, we're being kind, we're being peaceful, we're being helpful. I'm the president of the Missionary Society at my church, and we help out domestic violence centers. I went to the Health Expo before I came over here. I got a lot of information. We're going to be helping out the Children's Center with some stuff. So racial healing, it just encompasses a lot of things that I can't take a lot of time with today. So I just wanted to say just those few words. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so be ready. We're going to have some crowd participation in this way throughout the afternoon. Okay. All right, so I think we have the video ready.
Yes.
Hello, I am Gail Christopher, Executive Director of the National Collaborative for Health Equity. And our organization has a vision and a mission to eliminate health inequities and to create conditions, to help create conditions that will allow all people to experience optimal health and well-being. But we know that the biggest barrier to achieving that mission is racism. And so as part of our work, we're helping this country to overcome racism and its harmful legacy. So today is the National Day of Racial Healing. It is the 6th annual National Day of Racial Healing. And why focus a day on racial healing? Because we need to lift up the voices for unity, for peace, for engaging communities in the process of learning how to see ourselves in the face of the perceived other. You see, America was built on a fallacy, on a hierarchy of human value, on a belief system that undergirds that hierarchy. And this country, for its early centuries of development, structured that belief system through the decimation of the lands and the taking of the lands of indigenous people, to the forced enslavement of African people, to immigration policies that were based on that racial hierarchy. So this notion of racism is built into the systems and structures of our society. And to a large measure, we're in denial about that as a root cause and a root threat to the very viability of our democracy. I spent many of my early decades in clinical practice, and I learned a lot about the complicated business of moving past denial, psychological denial of something that we view as a threat. And rest assured, the legacy of racial hierarchy is viewed by many as a threat. And I learned that people move through denial through 4 primary phases. And of course, the first is to face the fact. Now, we're hearing a lot these days about whispers of the possibility of a civil war. We're seeing surveys that talk about people believing political violence is okay. But we don't tie those facts into the truth of where that's coming from. We don't tie those facts back to the necessity of dealing with our legacy of racism. So the first phase of overcoming denial is facing the fact. And we have to face the fact that our country must mobilize a concerted, comprehensive effort to overcome racism. Once we face the fact, we have to also face the consequences of having adhered to this fallacy for all these centuries. And COVID-19 and the extreme health inequities and disparities and the costs of those health consequences, they should help us to face the consequences. But then once people get past the facts and the consequences, they have to face the implications. And the insurrection on January 6th should have revealed to us collectively the implications of our failure to do this work. Our very democracy, the backbone of our peaceful transition of power, was threatened and continues to be threatened by the exponential rise of extremist hate groups. So much so that our Department of Justice has actually had to create a special division to address what is perhaps the biggest threat to our national security today. And then the last phase of overcoming denial is facing the feelings. Because feelings and emotions, they either paralyze us or they mobilize us. So when we get into the real work of racial healing, it's a process that enables us to work through those phases of denial. I have learned from clinical practice and my own work in designing social programs that people move past denial when they believe they have the resources that they need to overcome and to face whatever it is that they're afraid of. And I want us to recognize that we have the power to come together as a society and actualize the core tenets of our democracy. All people were created equal, and all people should have an equal right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But that will only happen when all people, and certainly the majority of people, actually commit to that as our primary work. And that's what the National Day of Racial Healing is about. It's about paying attention to the unfinished business of creating an equitable society. It's about working to eliminate the permission to devalue some people and value others based on superficial characteristics. And it's about creating structures of opportunity and putting in place practices that understand the complexity of that work. We created the National Day of Racial Healing to fall every year, annually, after the day that we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr.'s holiday. Why is that? Because it's a day that we set aside to pay attention to the reasons Dr. King both lived and died, to help us as a country believe that we could create the beloved community. And the beloved community is built on valuing all people equally. I'm excited that the National Collaborative partners with many organizations who are also committed to this work. Well over 300 organizations are supporting the call for the creation of a national commission on truth, racial healing, and transformation. And many other communities at a city and community and county level are implementing a truth, racial healing, and transformation effort. Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation, or TRHT, is our version of a national truth and reconciliation process. Now, America, despite the need, has never really done that work. Over 40 other countries have had truth and reconciliation processes. So we were able to learn a lot from the successes and failures of those efforts in our design of TRHT. And we put racial healing right at the center of that framework. I define racial healing as our individual and collective efforts to eliminate the belief in a false ideology, a false hierarchy of human value. And most importantly, to replace that belief with a reverence for and respect and regard for our interconnected, interdependent nature as a human family. And that's work. That's learning how to see ourselves in the face of the other or the perceived other. That's learning how to be empathetic, how to be compassionate, and how to translate that empathy and compassion into standing up for justice in this country and for fair and equitable opportunities. The Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation effort is built on 5 pillars, and the first is narrative change. We have to tell a new story about our country, a different story, a story that lifts up the past in its authentic voices, a story that engages all people. But we also have to realize that the stories that we're hearing through social media today are stories that promote division. And we have to take the necessary policy steps and put in practice those things that will manage that process. We have algorithms driving our social media now that are designed to divide us. And so it's critical that we not let that narrative be so destructive and present such a risk to our democracy. The next pillar has to do with this work today, the work that must go on every day of building the capacity to heal. We call it racial healing. We call it relationship building. It's building our capacity to come together as a society. And then the other 3 pillars deal with addressing and redressing the legacy, the structured legacy of racial hierarchy. The first is separation. Racism is maintained through separation, and it takes so many different forms, everything from school segregation to residential redlining, to the cradle to prison pipeline, to child welfare disparities. Separation is a primary tool used to maintain racial hierarchy. So we have to have explicit strategies to overcome the effects of that and to stop that, to reverse it. And then the 4th pillar is overcoming and transforming a legal system that was designed to maintain racial hierarchy, and not just the criminal justice system, but voting rights and immigration policies. All of these things reflect laws that embody the belief in a false hierarchy of human value. And then the 5th pillar of the framework is the economy. Understanding the costs of racism to the people who are subjected to it, and to our society as a whole. So those are the 5 pillars of truth, racial healing, and transformation: narrative change, racial healing and relationship building, separation, the law, and the economy.
All right. So I might be a few more minutes inside. So what I took from that, one of the many things is that we have unfinished business. And so that's why we are here, so that we can do the work that needs to be done. You agree, or you have a question?
I have a question, obviously, but I have a question. Is there information condensed? This was fabulous, absolutely fabulous. And she is fabulous. To take that to different groups.
Okay.
In some form now.
So the question is there a way for us to take this information back to groups, to share it throughout the community, so that we are not just doing this with those of us in the room, but to think beyond here? And I would encourage you to Google National Day of Racial Healing. There's an amazing website, which I'm not sure if this is where we pulled this from or not, but a website that has a toolkit. It has information, definitions, possible activities, a discussion guide, a way to continue the conversation. I believe there's also space for books and resources that we can share with one another. And so I encourage you to do that. Perhaps someone from the planning committee may have more information on that. Okay. All right. One more question.
May I say something?
Please.
Gail Christopher started Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation. She worked for the Pyle Foundation, and a lot of the information about the pillars, etc., and how to bring it to your community is on the Pyle Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation website. Maybe you guys could share the URL.
Yeah, we had the website up earlier, and I think the website may be hopefully in the flyer, the program itself. I know we had it on the flyer, but yeah, we can share that information, because there is a booklet you can download also that gives you information on how to work with other parts of the community or different groups or what have you, that's on that website too.
All right, so I also want to take this moment to say thank you to Donna Prescott, who we know is the person responsible for bringing the National Day of Racial Healing right here to Tucson. So thank you. Thank you so much. All right, so we are going to continue in the program. I moved it. All right. All right, so now I'm going to introduce Nobi Pyle and Judge Chuck Pyle. Nobi Pyle has practiced acupuncture and Asian medicine for over 25 years and is a certified trainer in the 5-needle ear acupuncture protocol, or 5NP, to provide relief for chronic stress, trauma, and cravings. Chuck Pyle is a retired federal judge, the founder and executive director of Second Chance Tucson, and since April 2022, certified by the Arizona Acupuncture Board to provide 5NP treatments. Nobi and Chuck are passionate. I have so many more good things to say. Nobi and Chuck are passionate about spreading access to 5NP, particularly in community settings, since the protocol was developed by community activists in the South Bronx in the 70s, so that community members could be trained to treat fellow community members. Chuck and Nobi have started a nonprofit, AccuWellness 5NP, to provide 5NP training 4 times a year and operate a weekly drop-in 5NP clinic every Sunday afternoon from 2 to 4 p.m. tomorrow, 2 to 4 p.m. that could be, YWCA House of Neighborly Service, located at 243 West 33rd Street. They look forward to providing 5NP treatments and presentations at other social justice events in Tucson in the future. I introduce to you all Nobi and Judge Pyle. I feel like I have to say Judge Pyle.
Well, it's a pleasure for us to be here today. This is our new nonprofit that we've created to train people and set up clinics to provide this simple inexpensive, and very safe treatment that helps balance body, mind, and spirit. It is incredibly, almost unfailingly calming, and it helps people heal from within. When I talked to Victor about this particular program, there was a video that immediately came to mind for both of us that features our good friend Juan Cortez. It's a 6-minute video. We're going to play that in a minute. I'll give you just a little bit of kind of background to it. The 5-needle protocol was developed by community activists affiliated with the Black Panthers and Young Lords in the South Bronx in the 1970s. It's an unbelievable story. They were concerned that the Black and Latino community, particularly Black and Latino soldiers coming back from Vietnam, addicted to heroin, were treated inhumanely, actually, by the local public hospital, and they wanted an option. And they got together and somehow, with the help of a couple of psychiatrists, were able to figure out this 5-needle protocol by looking to Eastern medicine, not Western practices, by going counterintuitively and adopting a protocol that is nonverbal and non-diagnostic. And most importantly, was developing a protocol for community members to teach other community members, to treat community members in community settings. And that is where a lot of real healing can occur, and particularly racial healing. So if Victor, if you can get to the next slide, maybe hopefully we'll play this video, and we'll, if you'll watch this for about 6 minutes, and we'll just tell you a little bit more about what we're doing on the other side.
Well, basically, I was active young IV drug user, and I just happened to come across NAACP because it's a street side service, so they give out syringes in the streets. I liked the way I was treated. I was treated with respect. People weren't stigmatizing me, and I learned how to stay safe and how to, not share syringes, not share cookers or waters, and that pretty much kept me healthy until I decided to go to the next level of change in my life. Inside of me, even though I was living and surviving on the streets, I always wanted to help people. I just didn't know exactly how that would pan out until I started doing the harm reduction peer program. It was specific for me because I was going through withdrawals at the same time that I'm trying to help people. And it was kind of funny because here I am feeling horrible and people are coming to me, and I'm not focusing so much on how I'm feeling, I'm focusing more on what I can do for them. And that's a foundation that I hold to this day. And I think that's what makes it important. It's part of my life, it's part of my history, and it's, the people that come to me are my people. That's a reflection of who I am. So that's why I do what I do, and that's why we go out to the street and we go out and we engage people right in the belly of the beast is where we call it. And if it wasn't for us coming out here, people wouldn't have access to these services. We're going to reach people that other places are not willing to come out and reach. Qigong and Tai Chi, I actually started practicing that about 11 years ago when I was going through detox from methadone. I learned it, the first few steps I learned from a counselor because I was going through methadone withdrawals, and he taught me some breathing exercises and some movements. And I practiced them until I practiced those particular movements, and I took some classes until I met Sifu. When I met Sifu, I told him, I do acupuncture, I do auricular acupuncture. And he said, really, what did you do? I said, in harm reduction. He was like, we're the ones that started that. I'm one of the young lords. And I was like, it was like I met my hero.
I became a young lord after I came back from Vietnam. So during the time that I was in Vietnam, that's when they took over Lincoln Hospital. Lincoln Hospital at that time in our neighborhood was known as a butcher house. Going to get medical treatment, and they treat you like, you're a lowlife or some kind of animal, So that's when, got together at that time, and they took over Lincoln Hospital. And they started treating people that, needed help. They called us communists, they called us socialists, they called us everything in the book except for what we were really doing was getting, you know, people's rights, our rights, you know, to be treated like human beings, like everybody else, you know? We just wanted to be treated like humans, that's all.
He's like the granddad of holistics in Nairi. You know, when he comes, everybody's happy. You know, like he's got a lot of experience. He's been practicing martial arts for over 50 years, and he's got a good heart. And he's about the community. He's a community activist. They're some of the original community activists before Nairi even began. You know, the Young Lords and the Black Panthers were fighting for the rights of people in these communities way before we got here. So that is a privilege to be his friend. Is an honor to be in his presence, and our participants love him for that. You know,
I saw that, you know, they was continuing what we had started, so I decided, you know, to start coming around and volunteering and helping out. At the same time, taking advantage of the services myself. I was also, you know, I'm a Vietnam vet. So Wang was dealing with veterans, and so I said, you know, let me tag along. So it helped me out too.
What we do is we're unique, that we combine holistic health with actual harm reduction, right? So holistic health and harm reduction go hand in hand. So people actually come in for clean syringes, but at the same time, once they access their syringes, they'll come to get acupuncture, right? They might want to do a one-on-one qigong session with me. They might just want some information. I could line you up with a group of participants that know every qigong exercise, what organs they're for, and each step by step. And these are active drug users. These are people that go out in a group into the park, and we go out into the community, which the community sees nothing but a bunch of drug users that are no good in the park. So now we're having this connection to the community, and they start asking questions. They start asking questions not to me, to the participants. We're giving people access to this. We're telling people and we're showing people that you too can have holistic services. You too deserve to take care of yourself. Not just people with money, and not just people that don't use drugs. Everybody deserves to live healthy. What Nairi means to me is health. We're about keeping people healthy. We're about education. We're about we're about advocating for drug users, advocating for people who've been stigmatized their whole life, people who society have pointed the finger and said you're no good. Well, we're about telling people that they are good, and we're about showing the world, showing the community that drug users are just as important as anybody else, and we deserve the same rights as anybody else, and we deserve to live healthy. We deserve to have homes. We deserve to have jobs. You know, so it's just, yeah, that's what Nairi means to me. Nairi means to me the fight against stigma and the fight against injustice.
What you guys think of that?
Hi, Juan is amazing. This video is about 7-8 years old. He continues to do training in New York, and we had a chance to do training together with him. So we did the training in Utah with the Juan. So we started out with the 3-day training. We started out doing Qigong in the yard and do a lot of interesting training, because his take of those 5 points means a lot different from my take of those 5 points in a Chinese medicine standpoint. But we are all expressing the same thing. But anyway, he's effective because he's lived on the street. He has experience being treated like not human. So as a clinician, I can do very precise point, but it's more effective. It's done by people in the community, peer counselors and peers. And do you know who can do the ear needling? Anybody. We changed the law in 2019, and then from 2021, anybody can be trained.
Even washed up federal judges with no health background.
Yes. So it's a 3-day training, and you don't call yourself acupuncturist, but so we do training, 3-day training, 4 times a year in Tucson at YWCA, House of Neighborly Service. Thank you for letting us use that facility. And we have been doing that, the free clinic, every Sunday for a year and a half. Before that, we did it in a federal prison halfway house. So we've been doing a free treatment every week for the last 5 years.
Right.
So we've done the training in the Navajo reservation also. And it's very, very popular there. And they always ask for elders whose skills, acupuncture skills, are not that great, but they line up to receive treatment from that person. So, you know, it's not about the skills, it's the heart. And it was, the treatment was invented by the community activists for the community. So I do want you to try out. We are doing demos over there.
Yeah, we have a table at the end of the hall if you want to get information. We have a couple chairs if you have time to get a treatment. We take about 15 minutes for a treatment. We, like I say, we're every Sunday from 2 to 4 at the House of Neighborly Service. We've missed 3 Sundays in the last year and a half. So you can count on us being there. And some guy named Lance Meeks got us to start coming every Monday at the Goodwill Youth Re-Engagement Centers. And it's been very interesting. The numbers are going to pick up, I'm sure, soon. But what's interesting is about half of the people who come for treatment are the youth, and the other half is staff. And I'll just tell you one last story before we get this program going on. But Goodwill asked us to come to their employee wellness center session. They had a big half-day wellness day for all their employees over at the DoubleTree back in September. And they asked us to show up. And I think it was like 260 employees registered at the front table. They had tables for yoga and chair massage and nutrition and fitness and all kind of, they must have had 15 tables around. And they put us at the very back of the room, which is where I asked to be, on the way to the bathroom. But there was a little half wall there, and we set up our little recliners after the half wall. And so I was out mouthing up, and Nobi was doing the treatments. Out of the 260 people, 52 came to be new, which to me is an indication of the stress levels in the service community in Tucson and a greater acceptance of acupuncture. So we'll be back there for a while. If you want any information, thank you all for the time to do this presentation.
All right, how we doing, everybody? Okay, no. How we doing? All right, well, I have some announcements that I need to make. Does everyone know where the 2 tickets are? Or maybe you have one because you used one at least already. All right, so make sure you hang on to the red one. I think the red one is for the raffle, so that one we want to keep. The white one is for the food. So you may have noticed outside there is Ken's Barbecue. So the truck is there and available to us. I have a piece of paper to tell me what the food is. If you take that out there and give the folks at the window your ticket, you have a choice between barbecue chicken sandwich or jackfruit, which I believe is vegetarian. I don't know what that is, but yes, that's an option. With black beans, and you'll get some chips and water. So at any point, yes, ma'am. Yes. Okay. You gonna tell me about the food?
No, I'm telling you about me.
Okay. Oh,
Right, kids,
I was just
for a
making
moment.
sure. Okay. Well, let me finish with the food. No,
Sorry.
stand right here. You stand by me. Okay. So make sure you do that. We have plenty of time, so feel free whenever you feel like you need a break and you want to get up to do that. Please go on out. I might be missing something, but I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Sorry. My name is Alfonsina Orozco. I work for TUSD1 for about 18 years, and that's been long, about 10 years already, and this is the 11th year we're sponsoring kids. We started with 70 kids, 2 third grade classes, and now we're doing 2 schools, 800 kids, for the grace of the Lord. So part of the reason why I'm here is that. If you have books that you can donate to me, that would be awesome. I can leave my info with whoever checks with me. I'll give you my phone number and information. So that's that. And I adore kids. That's why I do this. So I would truly appreciate this. And I know we're all human beings, and with everything that's going on politically and sadly, we just need to come together, and I think that this was a great thing. My friend told me about it this morning. I thought, oh, I'm not missing it. So please, we are just human beings. Let's keep healing and praying together. This is so powerful. So thank you all for being here. God bless you all.
So we know about the food. If you're getting hungry, make sure you do that. We're going to have a little change in our schedule, but we are adaptable, right? Yeah. Right? Well, I am, so I'm not sure what y'all, okay. All right, so I'm very excited because we are going to shift into our panel. All right, so we are really excited for a discussion that is forthcoming about creating a beloved community. We saw that beautiful quote by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. About a beloved community, and so we'll have an opportunity to hear from some folks, but I am so very proud to introduce the panel moderator, Miss Jenelle L. Lewis, my beautiful soror. Jenelle L. Lewis is a community leader, social media content creator, and e-campus director at Rising Star Baptist Church right here in Tucson, Arizona. A Tucson Unified School District graduate, she earned her degree from the University of Arizona. Jenelle's career began teaching abroad before returning to the United States as a kindergarten teacher. She transitioned into entrepreneurship as a realtor with Realty One Group Integrity, building her own team and teaching homebuyer classes. As a branding coach, she helps entrepreneurs develop 6-figure businesses. An author of 3 books, she is also a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, focused on uplifting the Black community. I'd like to introduce to you all Jenelle Lewis.
That's all right, because we just don't roll with it, right? We always say in Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated that it's always a good day to be a Delta, but I'm telling you one thing, it's better just to be a child of God and be able to walk on earth. It's great to be here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to be here. But I know the time has been spent, so I'm not going to keep you too long. So I have the pleasure and honor of introducing our panel. But before I do that, what I would like to do is that what research says is that if I tell you something about myself, or the panel tells you something about themselves, you're able to remember more information later, okay? So with that being said, my heart passion is working with orphans in different international sectors and different international ministry. The other thing that I really love to do, and some of you follow me on social media, is eat. So I have something called Try It Tuesday instead of Taco Tuesday, and you can find me around just eating around local restaurants and stuff. So I'm going to bring up our panel because you already have their information, their bio, but I'm going to tell you something special just about them. First, Carolina, bless her heart, she was sick this morning, so unfortunately she's not able to be here. So we're just going to send some healing energy her way and hope that she feels better. She did have a fever this morning. But the next panelist that I'm going to bring up today, his name is Jake Martin. And the thing that I love about Jake, he has the most presidential smile that could just win anybody over. I was like, Jake, what is it to be you? Or what makes you you? And he says, I love to cook. And I was like, man, a person who loves to cook with a person who loves to eat, how can this go? And he was just talking about a new recipe he tried with tilapia, making some garlic butter sauce and everything like that. So let's welcome Jake Martin to the panel, everybody. Yes, the next one we have is Alan Miller and myself. Oh, there we go. Darn, Alan Miller. And I was asking Alan, what makes you you? And he was talking about that he is a musician that plays, and then forgive me if I mess this up, but for doing music with psychedelic progressive rock. And he travels back and forth to Phoenix and everything like that. So we're going to go ahead and welcome him. The next one that we're going to bring up is JD Argon. Come on up. And I was asking JD, I said, what makes you you? And he was saying, out of the last 14 years, he has not drunk coffee nor soda. It's just been, I know, especially a coffeeholic like me, that he has transitioned just to straight teas, water, and juice and stuff like that. So I was like, wow. He is also a social media content creator, and we welcome him to the panel as well. Thank you, JD. Now, my last one that I'm going to bring up is that Treon Cockroach Coleman. And I said, Treon, what makes you you? And then he's like, you know, sis, I'm just all about community and everything like that. But let me tell you something about Treon. Treon is very good and high energetic. Some of you guys know Treon to where he knows your first name, middle name, last name, where you're from, your kid's name, and he just remembers everybody. So he never meets a stranger, and Treon is doing some great work in the community along with the rest of our panelists, bringing the youth together, getting grants, scholarships, and opportunity out there. So can you help me welcome Treon one more time? All right, so I'm gonna move this way. See if that one's working. See if it's on. Check. Okay, let's see how far I can go. Test the time. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started here.
Testing.
Okay, we'll try to do it. Okay, oh, there we go. Now we're cooking with grease. All right.
No.
All right, no problem. I'll start this way with Treon, and hopefully while we make our way down this way, the other mic might be working. So with that being said, our first question is, Treon, what does racial healing look like or mean to you at the individual level? And I'm going to come on the back and give you this mic.
Wow, that's a big question. So first and foremost, it's an honor to be here. When it's time to be on a panel, you have to really search yourself. You got to search your heart. When I hear the word healing, and it's become a buzzword when you hear racial healing, but you have to peel that back a little bit. You can't talk about healing until you talk about the word hurt. What hurt you? So before you can even talk about what hurt you, you got to talk about what happened. So it's a couple of H's that has to talk about if you want to get down to the healing. And I'm afraid for our country that racial healing is what you hide behind. You have hid behind it so long that you don't even really know what it means to say it. It's like you become desensitized to certain words. When I hear the word community, you hear the word community everywhere, but you can't even spell the word community without the word unity. You can't even spell it. So when I see and think about racial justice, if I think about racial healing, I think about the medical doctor. And when I think about the medical doctor, the first thing the medical doctor say is, what happened? And what happened to a lot of you is this: I don't have a problem with anyone here. I believe you desire to do better. But where the problem comes in, What do you do when you leave the YWCA 2 days before MLK Day? And how do you empower the communities that you are around? Because it's not so much the people that you're talking to today. Everybody can get an A+ for that. But when you leave these double doors, how do you impact change? And sadly enough, that's why we're having this talk today.
All right, well, thank you so much for that. So, Grady, I'll let you answer that question as well from your perspective on it.
I'm a Tucson syndrome. I'm a highlight. Thank you for having me here. Welcome into this space, and as the Tucson community, I just want us to manifest and reflect on our own gratitude and our own happiness. Racial healing from the indigenous perspective, right? Any native person can tell you what our history is, right? And I want to thank you about, again, reflecting upon where you come from, how did we get here, and not hiding behind that as an excuse for this is why we are the way we are, right? And from the indigenous experience, it's, for me personally, it has been about, even though we as a population and a community have the highest rates compared to any other ethnic minority group within the United States, highest dropout rates, highest addiction, highest self-harm, suicidal rates, percentage-wise, pertaining to our own communities and our own populations. How do we reconnect with our center, basically? How do we recenter ourselves? And I'd like to thank the other lady earlier who mentioned kindness. And it starts with being kind to yourself first and not blaming yourself for past mistakes. Moving on from that, and how do you improve? How do you better yourself instead of focusing on the negative, right? So for me, and this is just personal experiences recently that I've been going through as well in my maturity and leaving my 20s and having self-realizations of, oh, that's what my elders meant. When you're young, active in the community, especially with online activism or advocacy, it's really a go-getter. You're fighting the good fight but without reflecting back on what you put out there, what you send, the message you send, how you send it, how you use your words, how you connect with other people, how you talk with other people. That in itself has consequences. And so reflecting back on kindness starts with ourselves and knowing that, understanding that we all come from different narratives, we all come from different stories, and we don't know why or how people got to where they are today, but giving them that grace in kindness is how we as communities can begin to self-heal, is through kindness. Okay, thank you.
All right, I think that is very powerful of what you both just shared. I'm gonna, sounds like I'm cutting in and out. I am, okay. Well, we're trying, guys. With that being said, kindness, that's the root of it, right? Kindness and understanding what makes us us. And the reason why I wanted to start the introduction like that was just humanizing everybody. We all have feelings. We all laugh. We all love. We all live and come together. This is what makes us unique and different, but yet we're still the same. So keep going down next to Alan. Alan, what does racial healing look like or mean to you at the individual level? And I'm going to pray this one works, but if not, you might have to come on this side because the mic won't go that far. So let's try again.
Hello. Oh,
yeah. Let's see.
So just to restate the question, it is healing at the individual level, right? I think that's obviously just the key on how we impact change is on an individual to individual basis. I don't know. You can go out into society and you enjoy all the diversity that there is. I've had the good fortune of interacting with people from all different kinds of backgrounds. Myself, I come from a Vietnamese American household, and so I've had that experience growing up, and then even I guess just seeing how other Southeast Asian cultures interact with their children, their families, and with one another. It just offers a perspective, however small, but it is different. And it is something that I've always been able to sort of learn from, compare and contrast with my own upbringing. And I guess just for my own example, whenever I am in this situation in my personal life, I make the effort to learn just a little bit more than surface level, if that makes sense. I do try to ask deep questions, and I do try to come to a better understanding of this person's cultural background, their individual background, the experiences that they've had with their culture, as well as just their own processing of their culture, and to come to deeper understanding of them, I think, goes beyond, I guess, racial transgressions and a deeper connection with the individual behind the race.
I think that is awesome, and I love that what you brought up was saying getting a deeper understanding. Oftentimes, we might, like in our day-to-day journey, might be offended by someone does show us racism, but sometimes it just comes from their background, so they honestly just didn't know better. They just made a statement that was like, now was that slight type of remark towards me? I know one thing that I can think of is sometimes that people was like, I've had racism towards myself was kind of a, oh, you're beautiful for a black woman, and it's like, okay, but it's sometimes you have to give people the grace to make mistakes, and that's how we build and we learn. But I love what you said. It's about understanding and coming to that understanding when it comes from people with different backgrounds and different cultures. So, Jake, same question for you. What does racial healing look like and mean to you at an individual level? Oh, then it tapped out. All right, then you're coming on my side.
Yeah, I can help. It's okay.
I think this one's mine too. Let's see.
Hello? I can project. Can you pull closer? Try it. Oh.
No.
Hi, Jenelle.
Hi, there we go.
So I think at an individual level, it's really hard. Because I completely agree with Cheree on that. You need to know what the wound was in order to heal. And when you look at what the wound is, you see something that is so huge and so overwhelming that it makes it hard to start. Does anybody here know the year that interracial marriage was fully legalized in the United States? 1967 was Loving v. Virginia. Alabama did not vote to change their constitution until the year 2000. Interracial marriage was not completely legalized in the United States until 2000. Wow. How do we, as individuals, address such an enormous wound? And it's hard. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of looking at yourself to think about how you can do it better. How you can look at people for being people. Look at them at an individual level, which I'm just reiterating now what the other amazing panelists have said, because I completely agree with them.
And I'm proud of you to be able to do that. It took a whole lot.
Thank you.
To say that from me.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. It's going to take that type of...
It takes that type of work.
Yeah.
And when you have systemic systems that are so ingrained like that, right?
Yes.
It's hard to overcome them as individuals. And I don't want to sound like a pessimist because I believe that we can and I know that we can, but it's going to take some work, and that's what we're doing here today, and that's what we're going to continue to do as we honor Dr. King. But it can't just be the day of racial healing once a year. It needs to be every single day that we take active steps to work.
All right, that's what I call him, Mr. President. That's what I'm talking about. But I love what you just said, Jake, because it's just like that we have to have transparency in order to have transformation. And it can't just be one time, one day. It needs to be in our lifestyle. It needs to be in our DNA to respect and love others, no matter what background they come from. All right, Tria, you're gonna be back up to back. So let's go with question number 2. We talked about from an individual level, but let's talk about from a beloved community level. Like I know you call it the ships that you go into. I'll let you explain the different ships so I don't mess up the ship on the ship. But you do talk about how do you build a better beloved community. I know you have ABC Connection, and I think one of your big events you gave had like 500 people come out and give out clothes and school supplies, and you just have a heart for just showing the community love no matter who it is, whether it be the Black community or anything like that. So can you shed some light on that? Like, how do you make the beloved community creating that? What does creating the beloved community mean to you?
Thank you, Jenelle. So if you really want to understand be loved, you have to, for me, I can only speak for me, my faith is tied to what I do. My faith is tied to what I say. My faith is tied to how I act. And through my faith, it talks about how can you say that you love God whom you've never seen and you hate your brother that you see every day. That's from the book that I read. And what's crazy about it, the book that I read is people in red and blue cheers that read the same book. They read the same book. So it makes you have to look at yourself. It makes you have to do internal surgery. And when it happens, it goes back to that story. There's some people, Curry Hill, you let to the fence. Britt, there are some people that you let to the door. Miss Rose, there are some people you let through the front door to the front part of the house. There are some people you let to the living room, Dr. Meeks. There are some people that you let to other parts, but there is gates to access to every part of your home. Everyone, Marie Williams, good to see you, Marie. Everyone cannot come in your home and do anything they want to do.
That's right.
So until we as a community have that stance, lovely, that we will not let what people around us dictate how we treat our fellow man, woman, whatever the case may be. Because guess what? We have a lot of people at the fence. We have a lot of people at the front door. We have a lot of people in the front room. But guess what? It's all about your house. And guess what? We love our homes. We protect our homes. We put insurance on our homes. When will we start putting assurance on being better people?
Wow, I think Tria must have read my notes today. Because I was thinking, Tria, and I'm glad you said that about the home. It's like the foundation, I mean, the blueprint is a discussion, right? But the foundation at the end of the day has to be respect and love. And in there you can build the walls of kindness and togetherness and conversations and build out from there. So with that being said, JD, I want to ask you from your perspective, what does creating a beloved community mean to you?
So since one of my esteemed panel members also mentioned history, I want to ask how many of you guys are aware that native languages were used by the United States military in history? And how many of you can name the tribe whose language was used? Navajo, right? Did you know that they were not the first tribal nation to use their language? Was in World War I with the Choctaw. The Choctaw Nation were the very first code talkers. That was back when indigenous Americans were still not yet considered to be US citizens. There were also indigenous veterans who served in World War I. The other thing about World War II, there were over 30 indigenous languages that were actually utilized by the United States military. But simultaneously, in Indian boarding schools, they were eradicating our languages from our own native children. So think about that, right? How the United States government is utilizing native languages while at the same time enforcing language eradication methods in educational institutions that is meant to educate the native population, right? And the historical phrase is kill the Indian, save the man. So that's just another aspect of history I want you all to consider, even though they praise and they honor these native languages and these code talkers from our communities for serving their country. At the same time, they were trying to eradicate our languages from our community levels, from our children. And so part of me on a community level of healing is knowing our own histories. And I'm pretty sure majority of us in here all well know that is self-contained within our own communities to pass down our own oral histories and our own reality of what our history actually was. And not being dependent on the institutionalized education system to teach that truth. We know our own stories. We own our own, know our own language, our own narratives, right? We know these truths, and for reasons within our own individual families, we pass down this information. We pass on these stories. A lot of natives still reflect on oral tradition and storytelling to tell our younger generations who we are and where we come from. But a majority of that is being lost due to the homogenization of our American society. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention too as well is within the indigenous community, I know it's very typical. Oh, you're from this tribe, they practice this. What about you guys? You know, comparing and contrasting different cultural practices between different various tribal nations. And the homogenizing of, oh, it's similar to these guys. You know, and although there was historically cultural exchanges and interactions that went on throughout our own histories, a lot of people think that Navajo is very similar to Hopi, or Dene is very similar to Hopi, right? That is another thing to take into consideration, is the exonym of these native peoples and their names. I heard the mention of the Pasquayaki. They refer to themselves as Iowami. It is not Navajo, it is Dene. That is what they refer to themselves as. You know, so knowing these nuances, again, a majority of people do not know this information. Why? Because it is not shared. It is not encouraged that you know these things, and which is why we heavily as communities must depend on ourselves to share this information, to pass down this information, to give these stories, not let these narratives die out. So for a community sense of healing, we need to continually pass down these oral traditions, these stories, these narratives, because that's who we remember ourselves to be and what our history was, how we got to where we are. All right.
So I like that, remembering your history, passing that down so you know where you're going to, and not being ashamed to teach the next generation their history. As you have seen throughout our world, we are making progress, right? Now, is as much progress that we would like to make? By no means stretch of the imagination, no. But yet we're still growing and still thriving in those directions. So with that being said, Alan, what does creating a beloved community from your cultural background, what does that look like? And we're gonna say a prayer, it works on this side. Here we go. Maybe not.
Hello. So I believe that a community cannot exist without sympathy. And in order to have sympathy, you need understanding first. And second, you need, I don't want to say the word desire, just the want, almost the need to help the other with whatever it is that they're trying to do. And I mean, again, just tying back to individual first, you know what you have to do every morning when you get up, you know what your responsibilities are, what your hopes are, what your dreams are, everything you aspire to be, all of your responsibilities kind of that you're obliged to, whether you like it or not. And I think, you know, as long as you can see that in the other, whatever it is that they're trying to do, they must have their own aspirations, they must have their own responsibilities, their hopes, wants, desires, obligations. And once a person can understand that, once a group can understand that, and once they find it in themselves that they're able to help, they're willing to help, and they have the desire to help, I think that's when you can start to create a beloved community. The organization that I'm a part of our programs for community outreach include a Prepare to Care event, and that deals with senior citizens who are dealing with, the onset of dementia, memory loss, perhaps no longer being able to take care of themselves, even just scheduling medical care, whether it's required or whether it's just regular check-ins. The kind of program that we do transcends just beyond barriers, beyond who you are, where you come from, what your background is, who you're trying to help. We just offer that to the community because it's a problem that everyone's going to have to deal with, and we just realize that we're able to help and that we want to help. And even today, this very moment, I see people, all different backgrounds, and we all unite because we recognize that this is a thing that all of us are dealing with and that we all want to, I guess, just get our experiences out in the open, learn from them, move on, build something better. And here I feel like we've created a beloved community as well.
Definitely agree with you that we're headed in the right direction. So, Jake, you're cooking with grease once again. Let's hope the burner keeps burning. All right, for you, what does creating a beloved community mean and feel to you?
I think...
Just kidding.
Here you go.
Musical mics again.
Freaks me out that I'm the only one standing up. I think that Dr. King's vision for a beloved community is what my vision is for America. I mean, how beautiful would the day be when we don't have to be here, when this room is empty, and when equal opportunity isn't a buzzword, it is our reality that we live in. Now we don't have that, which is why we're here. And I don't want to call anybody out. I'm not in the business of calling anybody out. But when we started today, there were 2 elected officials in this room. There are now 0. And was I wrong?
No.
So you are?
Yeah, school board.
School board. Good. Congratulations on that. And so the creation of a beloved community doesn't start in a voting chamber. It doesn't start in a government boardroom where the decisions about the way that we live our lives are made, because we get to make those decisions. The creation of a beloved community starts here, and it starts with us. And we have the power to make those changes because we are the ones who are here, we are the ones who are listening, and we are the ones who want to create a change. From our school board members to our police officers who keep us safe, to teachers who educate our children, those are the levels in which we create a beloved community, in which we have equal opportunity. And we all have the same goals, the same ambitions, and the same chance to achieve them. Thank you.
100% agree with you. So with that being said, it's me, it's you, it's us together in this. And hopefully the day will come by faith that we won't have to have any more discussions like this, right? We will envision and embrace the vision of Dr. King the way that it should be. So I appreciate that. Now, here's an opportunity for you as the audience to get involved. I don't know if time is spent. Somebody correct me from the subcommittee if I'm wrong. But I believe we might have time for like 3 questions we can ask the panelists, if that's okay. You definitely can't be afraid of the mic. As you can tell, we can't move too far. So you're going to have to come up here and ask your question directly to our panelists. Do we have any volunteers that would like to ask the panel a question? No problem, home. You can come on down like the price is right and come meet me at the mic. Exciting, my music, huh?
I was wondering what you guys would suggest for teaching young girls and young boys about racism and how to heal from it and how to combat it, especially in schools.
Okay, do you have a particular panelist you want to answer that, or you want to just go all the way down?
Anyone.
Anyone. Okay.
Let me see if I can get this one working again.
So as an individual that does work in secondary education, It's all about sharing, right? We all know that children, again, as pure beings, as non-corrupt and having these biases in them, hopefully, it's not rooted in them yet. They need to be exposed to the diversity within their community, and so encouraging the sharing of culture, sharing of narratives of cultural backgrounds, it's going to open their hearts to accepting the diversity within their community. So combating racism is exposure, right? In letting them know, and then this is something that I tell the kids every now and then when I work with them, right, is the way you live at home is not how the rest of the world is. Mm-hmm. The way your neighborhood is not how the rest of the world is. And it is important that we instill that and letting them know that yes, they are a part of this community, but their world and how they believe that world works does not apply to every single person. It pertains to their religion, it pertains to their home style. It is not the same for every individual. And the earlier that they get to realize that, the more loving and more accepting that they will be toward the diversity within our communities.
Awesome. And I see Jake, you got something to say. I saw it on your face, Jake, so I want you to answer that too.
I was going to say I can't top that, and I agree with everything that JD just said. But I think, too, a big part of it is teaching the truth, right? Teaching the reality. Recognizing the history that's taken place, and then teaching how we heal from it, why it was wrong, and how we move forward. So I just want to tack that onto JD's excellent answer.
I'm going to try to come to you, but I can't guarantee I got a working mic, so if you might be able to meet me halfway. Cheree, can you do me a huge favor, hold that one? Let's see if we can go out. I don't know, we're getting too far out. No.
Hello, no, it's not.
Ooh. Oh.
Come on up with us. We won't bite, at least not too hard.
This question is for Jake. Jake, there are many young people in schools and the colleges who really don't believe racism exists. So, in fact, I was speaking at the university to a class, and I was telling them some situation, and they said, there's no systematic racism. So what do you say to that when you know it exists?
Great question. Thank you.
What a great question. So I think, when it comes to things like that, because there are a lot of people who don't think systemic racism exists. And one of the best ways that we can move forward from that and move away from that is just by teaching history, right? We in this room know that exists because we know the history behind it. And what I hear, and I think it's similar to that, is that, well, Arizona wasn't part of the Confederacy, so we never had slaves, which, by the way, isn't true. We were a part of it. But, there's that sort of narrative that racism ended when the Civil War did. And I think that fault is within the education system, right? We need to be teaching better history, really, is what it comes down to, so people know that it still exists and that it's very real and how we move forward from it.
Sometimes, though, it comes from the home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes it does come from the home, just to reiterate what you're saying. And I think sometimes it's telling your story, too. Oops. But telling your story of what you experienced, of what you've gone through. I know the biggest thing that actually happened in my life was traveling and teaching abroad. I went straight from the U of A right to the Middle East in Abu Dhabi. And the way that some of the women were dressed and everything, I was in total shock of like, dear God, what did I get myself into? Because it was me by myself. And a lot of the culture upbringing was more be afraid, especially for people that came from an Islamic background. And it was actually walking and teaching and sitting alongside them, breaking bread together, is when I realized, wait a minute, we're the same. You want to see your kids grow up happy? You want to see your kids love the individual they choose? We're not different. Then when I went to Taiwan, I said, wow, they're the same. And guess what? As a teacher, I learned the kids from different backgrounds, they're the same. You got your great students, you got the ones that make you pray real hard just to keep the job. It's the same. So yes, I appreciate that answer and question. Very nice. I know I saw someone else raise their hand. Now we're gonna say a prayer that it might work again.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Hi, Kofi.
Hi, okay, good to see you. Please don't worry about my accent, all right? I just want to ask a question, and the question will go to, I think, the panel and also everybody here, because I started working with the African American Student Service Department, and I go to about 8 schools, from preschool to high school. And there's something that is happening that I don't understand. So I want to ask this question. At what age is it appropriate to start talking to kids about racism? I wish I have time to say more, but I just want to see. And then this question goes to all of you. So if you hear the question, mom, dad, brother, sister, parents, uncle, grandma, grandpa, whatever it is, we are the stakeholders in our children's education. It's not a teacher. It starts from you and with you and at home. If you let your kids come to school and you think the teachers are going to fix them, they can't. They can't do it all by themselves because of what I'm beginning to experience. And so at what age is it appropriate to start talking about racism? And this is for all of us to start doing it. I know it's an uncomfortable thing, but there's something happening. And once you start talking and teaching them, they themselves will I don't want to say anything. You yourself will start hearing things. So please, thank you.
Awesome. So I'm blessed to have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. My daughter was introduced to racism in pre-K.
Yes.
My daughter in Tucson, Arizona was introduced to racism in pre-K. Shook the school all up and down. Didn't know what to do, how to go about it, what are we going to do? But they had to come in and have that conversation with me and my wife. You should have seen their faces. You should have seen the anguish. But the crazy thing about it, Bob Delaney, is as a dad, it was time. Woo! See, this is how you know when you move a crowd. This is how you know you can't even hear anything. It was time. Because Dr. Cheree Meeks, if I didn't do it then, I was leaving that innocent, precious soul, Kofi, to this wicked world. If I didn't get in front of it right then. And what's sad about it, Margot, I'm just one of many people that if you was truthful to yourself and wasn't ashamed to raise your hand that you experienced racism, you don't mind raising your hand. Now watch this. Woo-hoo-hoo. Now before you data-driven people, look at the people. Look at the people who had no problem of raising their hands. Less than 100 people. About 100 maybe. So when I think about a beloved community, the reason why I do the work that I do, Kofi, because I remember the day of the phone call from the pre-K, Margot. And what makes it beautiful, even though I wasn't prepared, that same feeling I felt then, what people don't know is I have friends on the other side. So I talked to Margot with the TPD just yesterday. Britt comes to my events. So what am I telling you? Can Britt and Margot stand up? So let me just give you an idea. Britt and Margot, stand up. Stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. And watch this, watch this, watch this, watch this, watch this. The reason why that's important, when you talk about a beloved community, you got to be able to see the community for what it's worth. You can't just talk about one side of the coin without the other side. I've been in situations, Margot and Britt. Britt has come to my events. We're raising money. And guess what Britt does? She goes in her pocket and pays for it. See, that's the beloved community. Didn't nobody tell Britt she has to do it? Then I talked to Margot yesterday. I talked to Margot on the phone yesterday. And when I talk to Margot, it's always, whatever that TPD can do to start showing or to replicate or to show that we want to be a part of the community. You think you missed it. I'm not coming because I'm en route. I'm not coming because this is my subsection. I'm not coming because Chief asked me to come. I'm coming because I want to stand with the community. Let's fix it. So if you want to talk about Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, that everybody wants to hang their hat on, 57 years ago, on April the 4th. It's been 57 years, Wanda Moore, and we're still talking about the things that Dr. King lost his life about. Now, what does that say about our nation? So, Barbara, I applaud you to say that you want to come to the parade, the march, the celebration on Monday to walk with the people. To walk with the people. And until you can walk with the people.
That's real. Let's give us a sermon up in here. I feel you, Doc. You on the right path. When is the time to have that conversation? JD, I'm going to have you answer it too, but I know that time is getting kind of spent, so if you don't mind keeping the answer just to about a minute so I can get to the other panelists to say that. This is a great discussion, and this is a discussion that needs to be carried on and continued.
No, if y'all are going to be standing. So this made me reflect within my own community. For those who do not know, there is a strong sense of colorism within the Native community itself, even. People, you can imagine me with my condition, right? Growing up in a majority brown community, how was I seen? And so, to the question of when is the appropriate time, it is when they begin to distinctify when the differences are. And we all know how kids do, right? They're different. We're pitting because we're different in some whatever way. They like this, they like that. I'm wearing this, you're wearing that. That is when we have those conversations with them. And a lot of my online exposure and my content making, again, you can imagine the comments, right? Nothing new to me. I had an adolescent. I heard all the comments about my skin color. But what did that do? That internalized me to, again, due to knowing history, that internalized me resenting the fact that I did look like this for a while. It was not until I came down here, went to the school up the road, and found other individuals from the Native community who also shared my condition. I was not alone, right? And so it's about making those connections, just like my friend says here, communities coming together, that is how we heal. When you know you are not alone, that is when you are prepared to lead those marches. That's when you're prepared to lead those fights. That's when you're prepared to come together and make those changes. So, thank you.
You want to speak on that question as well? Like, when is the right time to start having that conversation about racism?
Thank you. I personally don't have too much to say about it because I feel the other panelists have touched on it as well. Start early, discuss often. Obviously, they're children, so you can't tell them every single dirty detail when they're 4, but they gotta learn the whole picture at some point. And as soon as you start teaching them right from wrong, even, that's the right time to do it.
Yeah, totally agree, right? We're teaching those golden words and those foundational years. What you got for me, Jake?
So if you read my bio, you know this about me, but I worked in sex crimes for 3.5 years. And one of the biggest things you learn from that is that kids can handle a whole lot more than we give them credit for. Yes. So when it comes to answering that question, I agree with the other panelists that you start as early as you can because it's real. And just because it's scary and just because it's ugly doesn't mean that it isn't real. And do you want your kids being educated about racism by their friends on the playground? Or do you want to control what they hear? Do you want to be able to tell them the truth? So that's the question that I would pose in response really is first of all that you're never too young. And second of all, as a parent, I think it's important to have those conversations.
Hey, thank you for that. So I have been told that we'll maybe write down questions that we can turn into the registration table because the time has been spent. However, that's the bad news. Everybody say, oh, no, we're going to miss you guys too. But after this session, if you want to go up to our panelists and ask them questions, especially coming from their background and their experience and how you can connect with them to do greater work in the community, we will definitely give you that opportunity. But now I have something special for you that the panelists are going to help me with. We got some raffle prizes for you. If you signed in, I need you to go ahead and get your raffle ticket. Everybody say, yay! Yay! Yes. Yeah, I don't have a kid, Joe. Can I?
It won't take long.
Okay.
We really need to keep moving. If it's not a
So get your red raffle tickets out. It's not mine. This is not my event, so I don't want to overstep.
Sorry about that. We do have to keep to the schedule. No disrespect, but please have a conversation with whomever you might like to share something with. I understand, but the back and forth, I'm really sorry. Just got to keep to the program.
All right, so my panelists, as you know, I cannot walk too far because we have a hard mic. So I'm going to have Treon do the first numbers that are reading out to us.
All right, the first number is 0929499. The last three is 499. Going once.
Oh, I didn't think we gave the panel tickets. Okay, I guess you're a big winner, Ellen! So, Ellen, I have a special gift card. Treon, do you mind holding that for me, hon? Thank you so much for our first winner. Yes, thank you. That's perfect.
Well, let me pick out if you want it.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Since I know he can't pick his own now.
All right, next number we have 0929579. Again, last three numbers are 579.
All right, come on down. The gift is yours. We have a lovely basket for you. All right, and then let's go to the next panelist. Let's call another number.
Last three numbers, 589. 589.
589, come on down. Must be present to win. If not, we'll pick another one. 589, 589.
503.
503. 503.
All right, next.
608.
All right, Marie Williams!
We got a gift card for you.
All right, pass out on over here, Marie Williams. I can take it.
I believe y'all.
Okay, last three digits, 613. 613.
Shake them up. Okay, I got you. I'm with you.
572. 519.
I think that is it. Behind the scenes? Yes. Do you give, I hope you give the panelists a round of applause and thank you guys so much for spending your time here. Elaborate on your experience and your expertise. Now I'm going to turn it over back to Dr. Meeks, I believe.
Thank you all so much. Thank you to the panelists. We appreciate you for working with us, and you know what technology does. All right, so we're going to keep this thing moving. Just a reminder, if you haven't had something to eat, please make sure you get out there. There's popcorn, there's food, all the good things. All right, so now we are going to move into another section where we have two great individuals who are going to come before you. And I don't know if you all individually had a discussion about who was going first, so I'm just going to do this and we'll figure it out. We're going to start with Dr. Johnny Chavez, Dr. Chavez is the founder and director of Voices of Change, LLC, a personal growth, literacy, and writing program based in Pima County, Arizona. Dr. Chavez is a certified instructional designer, developer, cognitive behavioral therapy, life coach, and spiritual advisor. He is also an author, a poet, an instructor dedicated to impacting and changing lives. Dr. Chavez currently serves as adjunct professor for the University of Cumberland, Simpson University, and Baker University, instructing courses in business and management. Dr. Chavez retired from the Federal Bureau of Prisons after 28 years of service in both state and federal corrections in 2022. He is a subject matter expert in crisis management, policy development, offender reentry strategies, leadership, ethics, and diversity training. Dr. Johnny Chavez.
All right. We'll get started. I do got a show, but I wanted to talk about this because, we've had some great discussions real quick. And once again, my name is Dr. Johnny Chavez. Is it working now? Is that better? Okay. Thank you. Once again, my name is Dr. Johnny Chavez III. I'm Tiwa and Apache from Tortugas Pueblo. Came out here in 2021 and retired out in 2022 from the federal prison complex off of Wilmot. Since then, I've been working on different avenues to try to help people in need and talk exactly about what we're talking about, racial equity healing. As my bio said, I'm the CEO and founder of Voices of Change. Voices of Change is a poetry writing program that started in 2016 at FCI La Tuna. 2017 was given congressional recognition by Congressman Steve Pierce out of New Mexico. And it really helped bring the individuals that were incarcerated, finding them new ways to heal and grow within themselves, right? But before I get into a little bit more into the Sacred Traditions program, I want to talk about something because that really brings about everything else. And this is the medicine wheel. It is very prominent in very different tribal nations across, and it's a teaching tool, and it helps everybody teach. And what I want to bring to everybody's attention is that if you look, you have 4 primary colors. You have white, you have yellow, you have red, and you have the color black. And the 4 colors represent the races of man. So this is built into the indigenous medicine wheel as a teaching, as a tool to show that in this circle we are all related. We all come from the same backgrounds. We all have the same type of meaning and purpose on this earth, and we must work together in this circle. Now, to help bring this point a little bit closer to home, I've asked my partner, Bruce Donahue, to share a few words on the autumn perspective of the medicine wheel and the teachings, and how we can use it as a community to help us heal and grow, especially on these very topics that we're talking about, especially racial healing.
Thank you, Dr. Chavez. Again, my name is Bruce Donahue. I'm a member of the Tohono O'odham Nation. And so right now it's storytelling season. And for most indigenous people, we are an oral tradition. We didn't write a whole lot of things down for a variety of different reasons. So right now being storytelling season, I'll go ahead and share a little bit about why we have this representation and why it's often incorporated or included in a variety of different tribes. For the Tohono O'odham, we have 4 different clans. Myself, I'm a member of the Bam clan, the Coyote clan. But when this is the part of what we call our Hog Aga. Hog Aga means creation stories. So like every other culture, we have our own traditional creation stories. And when Juat Makai created the earth, he had 4 other individuals that assisted him. Juat Makai meaning the original earth medicine man. And when he created the earth, he brought along Itoy. Itoy is the creator of the Tohono O'odham people. And then from that, there were 2 more clans introduced. The Coyote, which is the Bon clan, and then the Nui, which means a turkey buzzard, But each of those 4 clans was tasked
with introducing a different people, which are represented in the medicine wheel here. Of course, correlating them with white being, white, yellow, red, and black. So I shared that to mention that, it's all incorporated or it's all encompassed within that circle. Oftentimes we share with individuals the balance of this. And so that's why we're here today, is to talk about this racial healing and to recognize that I can't exist without you. The question was posed earlier, when is it an appropriate time to start talking about racism or racial differences? And so to respond to that question from an indigenous perspective, there's never too early of a time to have that discussion with your children. And when they're little, how you have that discussion is with yourself. You model that behavior that you want your children to exude out there in the world. I model a behavior in my home that I want my children to follow, a guidance, a direction, the same way it was modeled for me when elders poured into me, when parents poured into me, when my community poured into me. It's never too early to have that conversation, but those things begin with the healing and the balance that I strive to have with my community. Often it's advocated in the indigenous community, you work on yourself, you work on your family, you work on your community, and then you work on your nation. Again, recognizing all that is incorporated in that four directions and that medicine wheel teaching. Every tribe has its own version of this model. But for the Donahue, I shared with you earlier, the directions of each, what was represented. So coming together in the center, is where we'll meet you. And so thank you guys for allowing us to share this morning and this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Great. I want to share some interesting facts of one of the reasons why I started Sacred Traditions. Being in corrections for 28 years, I worked all the security levels. I worked with men and women across the country. I did 5 geographical moves, and yes, definitely I've seen it. But I've also seen that there's some people in there that a lot of our own citizens that have just made bad mistakes. Doesn't mean that they're bad people. They've made bad decisions, whatever that may be. And some of them, those decisions were made because they never got even a first chance at living a good life. And we often say, well, here's your second chance at getting out of prison and doing good. Well, some of these individuals, especially from youth and young ages, never had that first chance. Why? Because when it's a child's decision to determine whether they eat or commit a crime to eat, or and not live anymore, how is that even a first chance at succeeding? When they're living in environments that are plagued with narcotics or gang violence and those types of things. And even then you have some children that whatever, it may not even be that, it could be emotional damage. And one of the things that really hasn't been brought up in this is historical and generational trauma. It's real, and it is past. Scientists have already shown and proved that historical and generation trauma is passed on through the generations. And you could have children 3 or 4 generations in that are experiencing the same symptoms that original trauma created back from their ancestors. So this is real. This is what's being passed on to our children, through us, through our DNA, and then they have to deal with it. I know I've had grandfather was a bad alcoholic. Have I suffered with drinking? Absolutely. And anxiety, depression. I have nieces that and even cousins that are second generational cousins that are suffering through suicidal ideations. And these are the things that have been passed on, regardless of what is, it's real and it impacts us. So how do we begin to heal? How do we do it? Well, let me just share some figures, especially from the indigenous community. One of the things that is very astounding is indigenous people in the Americas, per capita now, are incarcerated at higher rates than any other racial group there is out there, right? Native Americans are incarcerated, put in jails at 316 per 100,000. Compared to the national rate, it's 192 to 100,000. 157 per 100,000 whites. Native Americans or indigenous people account for 1.4% of total jail populations, and that was in 2014. It's an older figure, but it's still thing. And interestingly enough, out of all the racial groups, indigenous groups are their rates of incarceration are actually increasing, while the other marginalized groups are actually decreasing. So there is some issues. You know, there's addiction issues, there's high suicide rates amongst indigenous kids in the community. So how do we heal this? Well, one of the things I created this program. It's called Sacred Conditions. It's an 8-session program, and it focuses on 3 things. And we've already kind of talked about it in this session. The panelists did a great job in answering the questions and going there. It focuses on 3 things. It focuses on prayer. Why? Because it's our connection with the Creator, with our God, that helps us begin to heal, to answer those questions, and deal with this historical, internal, and generational trauma that we have. And then once you go to prayer, then it's about walking the red road or living a good life. How does that connection with the Creator, with our environment, with our with Mother Earth, with our animal relatives, our plant relatives, our relationship to that environment, how does that mean living a good life? Because it's not just about us, right? And when we think about faith is a small portion of spirituality. Spirituality is what we have in here and what we project out into our environment. We create the environment. So if we have not first addressed that we have this trauma, this historical trauma inside of us, there's no way we can begin to even heal. This internal trauma that we have, this anger, this depression, this frustration, all of this stuff that we have inside of us is energy. It's neither good nor bad. It is energy. And it's how we choose to use that energy that makes a difference. So if we can first realize that, yes, we do have this. I am broken. I am this, but I'm still worthy. And when you think about the concept of restorative justice, which is an indigenous form of healing, a community form of healing, it is not simply making amends with the person that you offended or victimized. It's really about the community coming together, all of us in the room, and saying, you are a valued and loved part of our community. We love you, we need you, and we want you to be part of us. Now we're going to help you understand and learn why what you did was wrong. That is the true meaning of restorative justice. Right? And then the last part is the teachings of medicine wheel. My brother Bruce already kind of went through that. Every tribe has a different version of it. There's even tribes in Europe that are using the model and applying their sacred traditions to it. It's a tool. It's a tool. It's a guide to be used to heal, to learn, and it's circular. Why? Because yes, we go from, like the brother my brother Bruce did in the prayer. It begins with the old time going to the north and being our elders, then going to our adolescence, into our adulthood, and swinging back around. It's a circle of life and everything that we teach. This is what the program is teaching the individuals. I'm running this program right now at SCI La Tuna in Anthony, Texas. I drive out there once a week to go facilitate this program because I'm telling you, out of 100, well, they're closing 7 prisons, but there was 122 facilities in the Bureau of Prisons, and you know how many Native American programs they have in the Bureau of Prisons? 0. Absolutely 0 programming. And in fact, just about 3 weeks ago, there was 2 congressional representatives that sent a letter to the director of Bureau of Prisons asking them why there was such a lack of faith-based programs in the Bureau that were even part of the First Step Act. And so there's none for Native Americans. And I'll tell you, this is the most disturbing thing to me, that I go and I talk to these individuals. Now, I spent 28 years, so I know the situation. But when you go back and you go, look, we can't even get lava rocks. We can't even get willows to rebuild our sweat lodge, to go out and practice in ceremony, to even just be part of their, reconnect to their spirituality. How horrible is that? And that's what I'm trying to do, what my organization, I'm a grassroots. I'm a total of 3 people, and we're trying to make a difference, not only here, but in the federal system, but also in the areas. We finally got approved for the Arizona Department of Corrections. We're working with the Transition Center run by Pima County. We're doing everything we can. We're going to actually try to get into some addiction centers to offer the program to give people a way to reconnect, because I believe that that healing and that reconnection, especially with racial, begins by going back to our indigenous roots. And what I want you to think about is that every single one of you has indigenous roots from somewhere. You have your own sacred traditions. You have your own spirituality. Why not start going back to it? Remember where you came from. Start going to, well, why did my grandparents do that? Those teachings are still with you. And this is what, interesting enough, I'm trying to get these folks that are incarcerated. Most of them, yes, they don't, some of them, they're true tribal members, don't even know their own language, don't know their own ceremonies. And you know why? Because not until 1978, or prior to 1978, it was illegal for them to practice any of their faith, to speak their language and do those types of things. They had to do it in secrecy. It's over and over again. So I ask you to just think about those types of things. Here's my contact information. Here's the way if you like to support our organization, try to reach back out and help, heal our communities, because that's where it begins. We got to do it together. And the thing is these types of events are great because it brings us together, and it doesn't just specify on one marginalized group or not. We're talking about everybody, because all of us make a difference. We are one community. And I love being in Tucson. I love Pima County because we are doing everything to make a difference. Doyle and his folks out at the transition center have lowered that recidivism rate, and I'm trying to do it in the prisons. Hopefully we can get in and help some kids here pretty soon with the first program and make a difference. So I thank you for your time. It's been my honor, my pleasures to everyone, and thank you.
Thank you so much. If you want to grab a screenshot or take a picture of that. Oh, it's gone. Well, I took a picture of it so I can share it with you. All right. So we're going to keep things moving. It is now my privilege to introduce to you all Tucson Police Chief Chad Kasmar. He is a native of Tucson. He came to Tucson Police Department in 2000, shortly after graduating from the University of Arizona with a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree. He oversees 4 service bureaus: investigative, administrative, patrol, and special services and innovation. He is passionate about building relationships and engaging with the community, especially with our youth. Chief Kasmar has served on the board of the Boys and Girls Club since 2017. Chief Kasmar.
Well, it's definitely afternoon now, not good morning. Again, thank you for the gracious introduction. My name is Chad Kasmar, I'm the Chief of the Tucson Police Department. Before I get started, I want to recap a few of the words that we've heard today. One of my favorites: humility, being humble, kindness. What happens when we leave today? Giving grace in a really complex, scary conversation. Change at the individual level, and giving people the grace to make mistakes. It's my honor to be here, this important gathering in recognition of the National Day of Racial Healing. Special thank you to YWCA for yet again hosting us, and Dr. Meeks' ongoing commitment to selfless service in our community. When you talk about humility, you should Google it and see her picture there. If you don't know her, you should get to know her. She's an amazing human being that makes me feel lazy every time I'm around her. She's an amazing mother, educator, wife, president of our local chapter of NAACP, and she's involved and engaged in numerous aspects of our community, and we're better for you and Lance living here with us, so we're blessed to have you in our community. Today we come together not just members of a community, but as individuals committing to building bridges, fostering understanding through genuine listening, and working towards a future rooted in trust, equity, and justice. I've served this community for nearly 25 years as a public safety team member. I'm critically aware of the history of my profession in this country, in our community, and I'm honored to play a small role in the changing landscape of what safe communities look like. I can proudly stand here today and say these are not just words of intentions, but proven actions. You heard that earlier. I'm blessed to be here with Margot, my team members, Margot, Brittany, Cindy, and Mickey. We're all part of their regular engagement of their responsibilities in the department, or engaging our community. When we're busy, they never get distracted. They're always solely focused on engaging and investing in our community. The city of Tucson, far from perfect, as many of you in this room know, far from perfect, but we've been working on embracing the changing landscape of our community's expectations, and have made numerous investments to alternative service responses for our community members in crisis. So it's really a conversation today, not just about harm in the past, but how we don't harm those in the future. This includes embedding mental health clinicians and creating non-emergency 311 lines within our public safety communications department, hiring our first chief equity officer, Ms. Larisse Walker, who was here earlier, but she's a little under the weather with a child, so I told her I had her covered. But it's also scaling resources through our community safety health and wellness program and homeless outreach teams to help community members with mental health and substance misuse disorders. Have also a demonstrated commitment to reducing gun violence in our community that continues to disproportionately impact young men of color through evidence-based strategies and community partnerships, through programs like our Violence Interruption and Vitalization Action, we call VIVA, that have reduced gun violence in parts of our community and sustained that reduction by over 70%. That's where we're at. Not a perfect program, but programs that bring community and nonprofits and the police department together through data-driven decisions and consequences and investments that give different results, with a lens on sustaining that when police departments leave those areas. We celebrate innovative programs like Community Violence Interruption, where TPD and community lead efforts that focus on investing to break cycles of violence, not just through incarceration. I remain committed to hiring our new team members from within our community. A diverse police department that reflects the community we serve can only be built with your support. The journey towards healing and mutual trust is not always easy. Most of us know it's far from that. But it begins with spaces like this where we can listen, learn, and grow together. This day reminds us that while our histories may differ, our collective future is intertwined. It is through honest dialogue, shared experiences, and acts of unity that we can create lasting change and a better tomorrow. These elements are a reflection of the richness and diversity of our Tucson community and serve as a reminder of what we can achieve when we embrace and celebrate our differences. As a third-generation Tucsonan raising fourth, your police chief, I want to reaffirm my commitment and the commitment of my department to fostering trust, fairness, inclusion, and transparency. We are human. We are absolutely fallible. We will have our missteps. I can guarantee you that. And I'll talk about why here in a moment. But we are absolutely a learning organization. You know, we've heard a lot from some amazing individuals today. A lot of them have doctor in front of their name, if you've noticed. 6 to 8 years of education for folks to have the wisdom that they do. But one of my favorite things to talk about at a local, state, and federal level and across this country is that 10 years post-Ferguson, we still expect police officers who are 21 years of age, whose brains aren't fully developed for the next 5 years, with 9 months of training. Not 6 to 8 years, 9 months of training to do extraordinary things. And like we saw this Thursday, they do, when we had a gunman enter an elementary school with intent to harm those children. But as a country and as a community, we have to do better. We have to recognize 9 months of training does not equate to the expectations that we have of ourselves or that you have of us. So there's work to be done. We're not only here to serve our community, but to listen and be active participants in the work of racial healing. Today is not just a day of reflection, but a call to action for us to strive for deeper connections and mutual respect. I'm going into my 4th year as chief, and when I came back from being the interim 911 communications director, on the heels of 2 team members having died by suicide, which is actually the #1 killer of police officers, not violent crime, suicide. I recognized that the level of trauma that our internal staff was exposed to, on top of the changing landscape of our profession, post-murder of George Floyd, and our own 2 in custody death incidents with Damian Alvarado and Carlos Ingram Lopez, was we had to do more to unpack the experiences and the trauma that our officers are exposed to every day. Just last year, even with the commitment of the evidence-based strategies and all the amazing things we're doing, nearly 1,200 team members, about 730 deployable police officers, responded to 175 non-fatal, skin-piercing shootings. That's trauma for the families, that's trauma for the victims, it's trauma for the suspects, that's trauma exposure to the 911 call taker, to the responding officers who are doing wartime field care, medical care, to the fire department gets there, to the medical staff that's exposed to that trauma as well. That didn't include the 62 homicides or the 90 traffic fatalities. That's a lot of trauma that they're exposed to. And when we don't unpack those experiences, the survival mechanism, which we've seen across our country for police officers, is to not see people as individuals and as human beings. That's where problems arise. That's not the officer's fault. That's a failure of community and the leadership to not invest. And I'm proud to tell you that I knew enough to know we needed more, and that wasn't my area of expertise, and we partnered with a company called Boulder Crest. And we introduced a program called Struggle Well. If you haven't noticed, police officers aren't really great about talking about feelings. A lot of men, not a shocker for the women in here, that we're not great communicators in talking about our feelings. But Struggle Well is a 40-hour program that all of our team members, professional staff and commission, our 911 team members and our fire department team members can attend once a month. We train about 25 of our team members in a week long. And the foundation is post-traumatic growth. And why that's important is because a lot of first responders don't survive a career, or they don't survive as the person that they started with because of their exposures. People don't call us because they're having a good day, right? And it's through this investment of post-traumatic growth and normalizing struggle, normalizing differences. Today we're talking a lot about sharing feelings. We call it disclosure. And I model that, and I open every single class. I've missed 3 in 3 years. And I typically share a story about the trauma in my family. My brother, who's a recovering opiate addict, my sister, who has an eating disorder, my uncle, who lost his life to heroin in our own community, or the loss of my father. And it's difficult to get through those stories without me not becoming emotional. And that's intentional, because what it demonstrates is that I am the leader of this organization. I'm a human being, and I have emotions, and that's okay. There's a time and a place for that. And I normalize that. And we say struggle is a horrible thing to waste. So it's through that investment where they learn about their spiritual, mental, physical, and financial wellness through a foundation of post-traumatic growth, and how that enables them to be whole, complete people. And the benefit of that for you as community is they see our community for where they're at as well. And that's been an awesome transition to watch and to lead. 700 of our 1,200 team members have been through that. We are leading the state and the country with this program. We are investing throughout the state of Arizona, teaching other police departments, because what we recognize is something can happen in Chicago tonight with a police department, and it can impact our relationships here in Tucson. Thank you for being here. There's no more valuable thing that we can share with each other than our time. We are grateful for your courage in addressing these important issues, and for all of your dedication to making our community a better place for all. Let us approach this day and the year ahead with open hearts and minds. We do have a busy year ahead of us. Be ready to make the meaningful steps together towards healing and building relationships. Enjoy the day's events, and may they inspire us all to continue this vital work long after today is done. Thanks for being here.